You are a bum. Your sorry ass needs to be fired. These refs are jokes, man. These refs cheating. It's sabotage. Ding, 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 ding. Sabotage from the league. I'm calling it. It's sabotage all over. Caitlin Clark get grabbed and fouled all game. People don't call nothing, but they calling stuff like this, man. I'm calling for an investigation on the league, an investigation on the damn front office. Look at this. That is not a foul. That is not a foul, people. Come on.
There are losses that simply go into the standings. Then there are losses that ignite controversy, create accusations, and leave an entire fan base demanding answers. The Indiana Fever's defeat against the Atlanta Dream wasn't just another regular season loss. According to furious reactions surrounding the game, this became a story about Caitlin Clark, questionable officiating, coaching decisions, and a growing belief that something is fundamentally wrong with how Indiana is operating in crucial moments. Caitlin Clark entered this matchup carrying enormous expectations. Every possession involving Caitlin Clark is analyzed. Every whistle involving Caitlin Clark is debated. Every strategic choice involving Caitlin Clark becomes headline material. Against Atlanta, Caitlin Clark delivered the kind of production that should normally place Indiana in position to win. Caitlin Clark generated offense. Caitlin Clark controlled tempo. Caitlin Clark created opportunities for teammates. Yet somehow, as the game reached its most important moments, the spotlight shifted away from Caitlin Clark's performance and directly toward decisions being made around her. Questions began building possession after possession. Why weren't certain calls challenged? Why was Caitlin Clark sitting during critical stretches? Why did Indiana appear unable to maximize the impact of its biggest superstar when the game was hanging in the balance? As frustration mounted, the criticism expanded beyond officiating. Suddenly, Stephanie White found herself under heavy scrutiny. Suddenly, the Fever front office found itself under attack. Suddenly, roster construction became part of the conversation. Because when a franchise is built around Caitlin Clark, every loss feels bigger. Every mistake feels amplified. Every missed opportunity becomes evidence for critics who believe Indiana is wasting one of the most influential players the league has ever seen. And against Atlanta, that frustration exploded into a full-scale indictment of the Fever organization.
Caitlin Clark, you mean to tell me she doesn't get a shot the whole fourth quarter? Caitlin Clark goes into the fourth quarter with 26 points and 7 assists. You know what she finished with? 26 points and 7 assists. She barely had the ball. She didn't get a single shot. She comes out with 5 fouls. When she don't put her back in until 3 minutes left. Then when Stephanie White puts her in, do you think Caitlin Clark is involved in the offense at all? No. If you wasn't going to involve her in the offense, you should have just kept her on the bench for Ty Harris then.
The biggest controversy of the night centered on one simple statistic. Caitlin Clark entered the fourth quarter with 26 points and 7 assists. Those numbers should have signaled a takeover. Instead, they became the beginning of a mystery. As the game tightened, Indiana needed offensive direction. Indiana needed leadership. Indiana needed its franchise centerpiece. Yet the criticism surrounding Stephanie White focused on the perception that Caitlin Clark was not placed at the center of the offense when the game mattered most. For fans watching, every possession that did not involve Caitlin Clark felt like a missed opportunity. The frustration became even louder because of the foul situation. When Caitlin Clark accumulated fouls, attention immediately shifted toward earlier moments in the game. Questions emerged about challenges that were never used. Questions emerged about whether coaching decisions indirectly limited Caitlin Clark's availability during winning time. In modern basketball, superstar management is everything. The best organizations understand that elite players require strategic protection. Coaches challenge calls. Coaches preserve minutes. Coaches design late-game actions specifically to keep stars engaged. That is why criticism towards Stephanie White became so intense. The perception wasn't simply that Indiana lost. The perception was that Indiana lost while failing to maximize Caitlin Clark. For a franchise trying to build around a generational player, that criticism cuts deeper than any final score. Because every game contributes to a larger narrative. Can Indiana properly build around Caitlin Clark? Can Indiana create a system that consistently empowers Caitlin Clark in decisive moments? Can Indiana turn individual brilliance from Caitlin Clark into consistent victories? Against Atlanta, many observers walked away believing those questions remain unanswered. And when a superstar finishes the game with essentially the same production she had entering the fourth quarter, scrutiny becomes unavoidable. The result wasn't merely a loss. The result became a referendum on coaching philosophy, late-game execution, and whether Indiana truly understands how to maximize the player around whom the entire franchise revolves.
Stephanie White didn't draw up anything in the fourth quarter for Caitlin Clark. She didn't draw up a single play for Caitlin Clark in the fourth quarter. Refused to challenge anything when it came to Caitlin Clark. I don't get it, man. This is bull. This is BS. I am pissed. I am beyond pissed about this. I am furious, man. Disgusted with what I saw from the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark, you got to be more aggressive in the fourth.
Pressure changes athletes, pressure changes coaches, pressure changes organizations, and nowhere is that pressure more visible than around Caitlin Clark. Every opponent prepares specifically for Caitlin Clark. Every defensive game plan starts with Caitlin Clark. Every arena fills because fans want to watch Caitlin Clark. That level of attention creates unique challenges. Historically, transformational stars have faced similar situations. Teams build entire defensive systems around stopping them. Officials are forced to make split-second decisions amid physical play. Coaches must constantly adjust to defensive schemes designed to remove their best player from the game. The criticism after the Atlanta loss suggests many fans believe Indiana failed those adjustments. Caitlin Clark's supporters saw a player producing at a high level. They saw a player capable of taking over. They saw a player who should have remained the focal point of every critical possession. Instead, frustration emerged from the belief that Indiana drifted away from what was working. Psychologically, this becomes significant. When a star player is dominating early and then becomes less involved late, observers immediately search for explanations. Was it foul trouble? Was it coaching philosophy? Was it strategic adjustment? Was it execution failure? Those questions now surround Stephanie White. The comparison to elite coaching situations becomes unavoidable because championship-level organizations typically lean harder into their stars as games become more important. The fourth quarter is where superstars are supposed to decide outcomes. The fourth quarter is where offensive systems often simplify. The fourth quarter is where the ball finds the franchise player. That is why this debate has become so emotional, because many believe Caitlin Clark earned the right to dictate the game's final chapter. Instead, the final minutes generated criticism, confusion, and renewed discussion about whether Indiana's internal decision-making is aligned with the strengths of its most valuable player. And when fans begin using words like sabotage, the issue has moved far beyond basketball tactics. It becomes a crisis of trust.
Then Stephanie White is damn Amber Cox. This roster is garbage, Amber Cox. Your sorry ass had 80% of the league as free agents. Pardon the language. You had 80% of the league as free agents, and this is the roster you concocted. Monique Billings was your main attraction for her offseason signing, and she not even playable in the fourth quarter. You went and drafted Raven Johnson, number 9 overall. She not even playable. She played 3 minutes. Yo, she shot a layup so hard off the backboard it looked like...
The fallout extends far beyond one game. Roster construction is now under the microscope. Every championship contender understands a simple truth. A superstar can elevate a franchise, but a superstar cannot fix every roster flaw. Much of the criticism aimed at Indiana focused on personnel decisions. Critics questioned offseason acquisitions. Critics questioned player rotations. Critics questioned whether enough reliable contributors were placed around Caitlin Clark. That criticism intensified because Atlanta displayed balance. Atlanta received production from multiple players. Atlanta spread responsibility throughout the lineup. Atlanta looked like a team with answers. Indiana looked like a team searching for them. When that contrast becomes visible, front office decisions inevitably become part of the discussion. The larger concern is financial and organizational. Caitlin Clark is not merely a basketball player. Caitlin Clark is a franchise engine. Caitlin Clark drives attention. Caitlin Clark drives ticket sales. Caitlin Clark drives television ratings. Caitlin Clark drives national conversations. When results fail to match that level of influence, pressure lands on everyone involved. Stephanie White faces scrutiny. The front office faces scrutiny. Roster architects face scrutiny. Ownership faces scrutiny. And if Indiana continues struggling against stronger competition, those conversations will only intensify. Because expectations changed the moment Caitlin Clark arrived, moral victories disappeared, developmental excuses disappeared, patience became limited, the standard became contention. The standard became maximizing Caitlin Clark. The standard became proving that Indiana can transform unprecedented attention into sustained winning basketball. Against Atlanta, critics believe Indiana fell short of that standard. And that belief may have lasting consequences long after this particular loss fades from memory.